was nearly 13 years ago that I uploaded my first video on YouTube, I think, and it was me covering the solo of Dirty Loops' Circus cover. I did it in that bedroom in 2011, 3rd of November. Actually, my wedding anniversary now. I wasn't married then, obviously. But yeah, I live in the house. It used to be my parents' house, then bought it off my parents. But since then, I've done over 4,000 videos. And I was chatting to my buddy David Beebe the other day over a curry and said, "You don't have a plan, do you?" And I said, "Absolutely not." So in this video, I wanted to kind of thank some of you guys, maybe a little bit of a retrospective, and tell you what the plan is going forward, as there is no plan B, as Rhett says. This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. I think the idea with this channel is that it's always really going to be a bit of a niche channel, because I think it's a little bit strange in a few ways. So first of all, I play more guitar than most other channels. Like, and I think Beato has said to my buddy 5 Watt World, Keith, you know, like, there's an awful lot of playing in those videos. And yeah, I think it's one of the things that has kind of been the engine for me, and I am somewhat apologetic for it, because I do recognise that probably it's a bit gratuitous and it's not necessary as such, but kind of the reason that I wanted to do daily uploads was because it was a way of having some sort of creative release, you know, not like diarrhea, but you know what I mean. And so I think it was Ed Sheeran or someone like that had talked about writing a song every day, and I kind of thought, yeah, that's kind of like a good principle. In terms of creativity, I think you might hear other people talk about this as well. It's actually not so much about the end result as it is about having a consistent habit of doing the thing, if you get what I mean. So for instance, I used to write quite a lot of songs with like lyrics and stuff, and when I was kind of in the height of that, it was really important to just continue doing that. And once you slow down writing and stop writing lyrics, it becomes more and more difficult, I've found, to get back on that, and you start to overthink things, and you start thinking about, well, what was it like to write songs? And to the point that these days I'd find it very difficult at all to write anything. But I think that's the thing, like, you set a habit of doing a thing, and as long as you sort of stick to that habit, it stays being a habit, and it doesn't get more difficult, and hopefully it gets easier, maybe. And you hear about this in terms of like the idea with an album. I think we have a bit of a dodgy impression of what it is to create an album. So you hear Chris Martin, people like that, Coldplay, talk. Actually, the album isn't written like as, right, here we're going to write 9-10 songs. It's more written like, we've written 50 songs, let's pare this back and select some of the best ones that we've written over this period of time. I think the album in general gives us a little bit of a weird impression of what it is to actually create, is my impression I get on this anyway. So yeah, as I say, like Ed Sheeran, people like that, Chris Martin, talk about having more than you need and then sort of paring that down. Yeah, anyway, I don't know why I've gone down that as a rabbit hole. But anyway, yeah, just creativity and trying to stay interested in all of these aspects. For me, it's been absolutely fantastic getting to play guitar every day, and it suits me even better now. So basically during lockdown, just before lockdown, I got Strymon Iridium. Prior to that, my uploads on YouTube were really kind of sporadic for the first sort of few years, and then I found myself trying to do like this jazz thing. So I would upload, like on Wednesdays, I would do a regular upload of the jazz tune that I was working on that week. And then on Sundays, I would upload like a performance of whatever I was working on. Then by doing demos for Tone Junkie, the Kemper guy, I found that was actually what I found interesting about YouTube or whatever. And, you know, being able to create like a little 2-3 minute piece of stuff. And for me, it's generally all improvised, so it's kind of, you know, I've done other videos on my workflow and that, so it's kind of just like a bit of a stream of consciousness, much like the talking bit is too. And I do appreciate that there are other ways to do YouTube which are more careful and more thought out and definitely more important. But I found that this is the thing that kind of works for me and my personality. And apologies if it doesn't work for you, but there are other YouTube channels out there, right? This is the best that I can do. Sometimes it'll be in focus, sometimes it won't, but I think the important thing for me is to kind of maintain consistency with this. And hopefully there's like a few of you guys that are along for the ride as well, hopefully. So anyway, as I say, the jazz thing, you know, that was consistent but of no interest to anyone. But you can go back and check some of my kind of jazz standards playing if you're interested. It was during a phase where I was like trying to get to this Ben Unison figure of practicing for 7 hours a day, because I was just thinking that was what I needed to do. Lockdown hits, all of my gigs go away, but I've still got this online thing which I've been slowly sort of building up. And that was kind of the taking off point for me personally, where I'd started doing these Strymon Iridium videos and HX Stomp videos and stuff like that, and people were asking, you know, well, how are you getting these tones? What are you doing here? And sort of lessons started to naturally come out of it because I was getting similar questions. So that is basically how the channel became what it is today, right? Where I'll be dealing with sort of questions from folks that I get in emails or on Patreon, or, you know, stuff that people ask me to break down, questions that I get asked often about my own playing, like whether it's kind of legato stuff, spread triads, looping, how I make backing tracks, that sort of stuff, as well as following what I've naturally done all along, which is my own interests. I stay pretty curious with all this. I don't feel like I know that much about anything, so I like to kind of look into stuff and find out, you know, bits of pieces about all sorts of stuff. You know, watch Eric Johnson's hands and see what he's doing. Watch Alan Holdsworth's hands, see what he was doing, trying to work out stuff. That has basically been the engine for what I'm doing. And likewise with helix models and fractal models and Kemper and all that stuff, just what is it that these things are based on? Can I find some information about, you know, the train wreck amps or whatever, the Dumble amplifiers, and present those? How do they sound? Can I make everything sound exactly the same? Yes. So that's kind of been the thing. These days I also now do some work with companies, because since I had a kid, it was kind of like people just assume that I'm paid by Line 6 anyway. So I thought, well, if I'm I don't have any integrity anyway, so you guys just assumed that I was being paid by Line 6 for years. I wasn't. So I thought, well, I might as well do some gear demos. And that's a really interesting part of this stuff as well, you know, working with companies, seeing what these new launches and stuff are, you know, getting to try some of this gear, and I find that really interesting too. I hope you guys, you know, get something out of some of it, and then still, you know, going out and buying gear that actually interests me. I think that's where some of the more interesting videos can come out, you know, where it's not just presenting a new piece of gear for you, but, you know, something that I was interested in for years potentially, and then I might get to try it. So that's kind of where things are now. You know, I've got the Patreon where I put up backing tracks and the lessons. The weekly lessons is still a thing. I need to catch up on the Eric Johnson lesson, but, you know, family things being what they are right now, hopefully you're bearing with me. But yes, there was that lesson on the little lick from Cliffs of Dover. You know, I do some weekly lessons that go up on Patreon. The presets are still in the same place that they've been since 2022 when there was that hack. I'm still, you know, trying to keep things fresh and somewhat interesting, but I am just one guy in a bedroom, and there is really nothing else going on, right? I'm going to keep trying to bring some of the live gig stuff. That is one of the things that some of you guys say that you want to see more of. But in terms of a plan, there really is none. It's just keep going until the wheels fall off, and at some point they will fall off. So yeah, 4,000 videos in, 4,055 it was when I started making this video, but I probably uploaded one before this one. But I'm going to keep, I'm hoping that Line 6 might come up with something new to talk about at some point, because we're still on the Helix from 2015. So I'm looking forward to some kind of new kind of gear stuff that is maybe, you know, changing the game a bit, is what I'm hoping for at some point, but not heard anything yet. But yes, and guitars and bits and pieces like that, I found things that generally work for me, and I think you can tell, you know, what things I grab day to day. You know, I guess that is the benefit of doing regular videos, is that you get to actually see what I really use all the time, and it happens to be a K-Line Strat, right? I don't have any affiliation with K-Line, sort it out. But yes, that's, although they have sent me some guitars and given me some discounts, so that's nice. But yes, things are going to continue as they are. I'm hoping to start doing some live streaming at some point, and maybe some private lessons at some point as well when I can fit them in. But still, LED is like 19 months old now. It's still trying to settle into some sort of routine with stuff, and finding that time in the day where maybe it is possible to do some extra stuff. I've also been in talks with TrueFire about putting together a course, so I need to really think about that. So if you guys have got ideas for that, can you email me things that you think I should focus on and maybe try and put something a bit more together with, right? And I'm going to continue doing the monthly on Patreon for the higher supported guys, a full length solo. So that's where things are right now. The plan is to just keep on. I don't have any particular goals with any of this. It's far exceeded my expectations, and I hope some of you guys stick around for the ride. I wanted to say thank you. Yeah, just carry on as you were. Cheers for stopping by.